Um, Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from around the world where you're from. So I'd like to say thank you so much to the Charter for Compassion for giving us this opportunity to be here and to present on this theme of the role of nonviolence communication in peaceful coexistence. So we are going to start our session without wasting time, and I hope that I am audible. We are going to start our session, and our session is going to be about the role of nonviolent communication in peaceful coexistence. So, my name is Gervin Baila Kitwika, and I am a peace ambassador and also a nonviolent communication and servant leadership ambassador at the Global Peace Let's Talk. So, without wasting time, let us delve into our session as we don't have much time. So, today's session is about the role of nonviolence communication in peaceful coexistence. So, first of all, we'd like to start with understanding what is communication. So, communication is the process of exchanging information, ideas, thoughts, or feelings between individuals or groups. Communication can take various forms, including verbal, whereby the communication can be spoken or written, or it can be non-verbal, whereby we can use the body language and gestures, and it can also be visual, whereby we can use images and symbols. So, what is peaceful coexistence? It is so crucial to understand what does peaceful coexistence mean. When we talk about peaceful coexistence, it is a concept in which individuals, groups, or nations live together harmoniously, respecting each other's differences and avoiding conflicts. It emphasizes the idea that diverse cultures, beliefs, and practices can exist side by side without animosity or violence. Now, what is a conflict? A conflict is a disagreement or struggle between two or more parties that may arise from different interests, values, beliefs, or goals. Conflicts can occur at various levels, including interpersonal, organizational, community, or even international level. They can be expressed through various means, such as verbal disputes, legal battles, or in extreme cases, violence. So, after understanding these different definitions, let us delve into what is violence. Violence refers to the intentional use of physical force or power to harm, destroy, or intimidate others. It can manifest in various forms and contexts, and it may involve individuals, groups, or even state actors. Violence can cause physical, emotional, and psychological damage to victims and can have broader social and cultural implications. Now, let us understand what is non-violent communication. So, according to Nat Attacker, who was a fervent Gandhian, he said that to him, nonviolent communication literacy would mean how our communication efforts should be nonviolent, how our ability and capacity to communicate not only with ourselves but with our family and the society be nonviolent in all aspects, and overall how the entire process of communication, whether between individuals, groups, communities, and the world at large, should be nonviolent in nature. When we talk about nonviolent communication, it is not just verbal or nonverbal communication. Nonviolent communication literacy would also include whether our thoughts and ideas are nonviolent or not. So every time that we are trying to communicate, we have first of all to make sure even our thoughts, the way that we are thinking, is non-violent in any way. This can be a perception that we can be having about someone else. Once in our mind we have this thoughts of looking at another person and we perceive them as a threat, or we think about them in a wrong way, that means that our communication is already violent. So why should we then use nonviolent communication? Why is it important to use nonviolent communication? According to Marshall Rosenberg in his book, Nonviolent Communication, a language of life, talks of the benefits of using it in all aspects of our lives. Nonviolent communication helps us connect with each other and ourselves in a way that allows our natural compassion to flourish. It guides us to reframe the way we express ourselves and listen to others by focusing our consciousness on four areas: what we are observing, what we are feeling, what we are needing, and what we are requesting to enrich our lives. Nonviolent communication fosters deep listening, respect, empathy, and engenders a mutual desire to give from the heart. Some people use nonviolent communication to respond compassionately to themselves, some to create greater depth in their personal relationships, and still others to build effective relationships at work or in the political arena. So, with those definitions, let us now delve into the pillars of non-violent communication. What are these basic pillars of nonviolent communication? When we are talking about the pillars of nonviolent communication, the Gandhian Nonviolent Communication Literacy has five basic pillars. And these pillars are respect, understanding, acceptance, appreciation, and compassion. So, when we are communicating with others, the first thing that we have to do is to respect them and to understand them. Because without respect, there is no way that we can understand one another. And when we have respect for other people, without looking at their backgrounds, without taking into account their origins, their tribes, their looks. So this is the only way that can lead us to understand one another. When we don't look at other people with contempt and we treat them differently because they are from a different religion, because they are from a different country, or because they have a different skin tone than ours, then we are going to respect them. And once we respect them, this pillar is going to lead us to understanding them. And once we understand them, once we have respect and understanding, these two pillars are going to lead us to the three next pillars, which are acceptance, appreciation, and compassion. So once we have acceptance of other people, when we accept other people for who they are, then we are going to be in peace with the way that we are going to communicate with them. Then our communication is not going to be violent. With appreciation and compassion, why should we have appreciation and compassion for other people? Because when we appreciate other people and we are compassionate towards them, then these two pillars are going to make us to discover our inner joy. These two pillars are going to make us to be happy with the other people that we are communicating with. So let us move on to the elements of nonviolent communication. What are these elements of nonviolent communication? When we are talking about the um, elements of nonviolent communication, here we are going to understand that, first of all, nonviolent communication means complete lack of violence in the way that we communicate with others. And the way that we communicate with others should be non-violent in all aspects. This can be when the communication is written, when the communication is going on through our own thoughts in our minds. So we have to make sure that we are not violent in any given way. The second element of nonviolent communication is that we should learn to communicate with ourselves and self-introspect. So we have to ask ourselves questions. When was the last time that I met myself? When was the last time that I sat down and went into my mind and tried to look at myself in my mind so that I could first of all understand myself? We need to communicate with ourselves. We need to talk to ourselves before we communicate to other people. We need first of all to make sure that we ourselves are not having a violent communication going on within us. The next pillar, the next element of nonviolent communication is the usage of appropriate and positive language. Imagine when we are talking to someone and our language is a language which is demeaning the other person. It is a language which is undermining the other person. How would this other person feel? We can't have a good communication with other people once in our words that we are using to communicate with them, we are demeaning them, we are using a negative language towards them. That's why we need to make sure that before we speak to other people, we make sure that our communication is not one which is demeaning them, is not one which is negative. But once our communication is positive, then we are going to make this other person that we are talking to feel okay to talk to us. The next element of nonviolent communication is to avoid moralistic judgments. When we are having moralistic judgments, when we are judging other people just because of the way that they look like, just because of the way that they are performing. Imagine, like, for example, a teacher trying to compare a student to another student, trying to demean this other student who is not having good marks and comparing them to another student in the same classroom, trying to show them that they should be like the other student who's getting good marks, then we will not be helping this student who is having lower marks in class, because instead of helping them, we are judging them. And once we judge this student, then there is no communication which is going to be okay between us with this student. So it's the same when we are talking to any other person. We need to make sure that our communication should not be judgmental. And the next element is to avoid an evaluative language. For example, when we are in a football team and then there is a player that we always rely on, and this player is the striker. So maybe this player has gone some matches without scoring any goals, and then we, as a coach of the team, we are there to try to use an evaluative language to this player. We are trying to tell him that you are letting us down. It's because of you that we are not winning games. Instead of trying to communicate in a proper way to this player and try to show him the positivity, the good things that he has done for the team, then we are just using an evaluative language. We are trying to show him that it is because of you that's why we are failing. That's why we are not winning games. So this is going to make this player to feel bad. And once this player feels bad, then we will have failed as good communicators. The next element is to connect with needs of others. How can we connect with other people's needs? Let's say, for example, there is a husband and a wife who are having arguments, and as they are having arguments, no one wants to listen to the other person. No one wants to connect with the needs of the other person. So they all just go mute. They stop talking to each other. So when they do that, instead of resolving the issues between them, they will keep making the tension to keep growing stronger. But if they try to connect with each other's needs, if each one of them tries to listen to the other person, if each of them try to see things from the other person's perspective, they try to sit down and connect with each one's needs, then they are going to understand one another. Because there is nothing which can be as a problem and fail to be resolved when people communicate. And when we are communicating in this matter, we have to make sure that we connect with other people's needs. The next element is the importance of flexibility in our communication. How am I communicating? Sometimes you can say something to someone, but then you just realize later that you are wrong. As a good communicator, as someone who uses non-violent communication, we need to know how to be flexible, how to change, how to correct ourselves in our communication. Instead of being decisive and say, because I have said this, then it is like this, it has to remain like that, then that will not help us in any way. So the good thing is to be flexible in our communication. When we realize that we are wrong, we need to be flexible and change our own communication. The next element is practicing active listening skills. Why should we practice active listening skills? When we practice active listening skills, it helps us to connect immediately with other people. It will show that we really value the person we are talking to. Like when you are talking to someone and you practice these active listening skills, like being able to summarize what someone has told you, like being able to respond properly to the questions that someone has asked you. When we practice eye contact with someone who is talking to us, all of these things show that we are really attentive to that person and that we respect them and that we value the communication that they are having with us. The next element is expressing gratitude. Why should we express gratitude? Expressing gratitude helps us connect with other people. When we don't express gratitude, then there will be a communication breakdown with the other person. The next element is the role of mutual respect in communication. Every time we are communicating with someone, we need to give them respect so that they can also give us respect. So respect is very important when we are communicating with someone. We also have to understand the power of empathy. Why is empathy important when talking to someone? We need to make sure that we look at things from different perspectives. We look at things from the other person's perspective. We put ourselves in the shoes of the other person. We try to understand, first of all, what this other person we are talking to is going through. And when we express empathy to the other person, then our communication is going to be good because we will understand them easily. But when we don't express empathy, then it will be so hard for us to understand one another. The next thing is the strong belief in the power of compassion. Why should we express compassion when we are talking to someone? How do we express compassion when we are talking to someone? We need to express care. We need to show this other person that we really care about what they are telling us. And once we show that we really care, this person talking to us will also have that courage to keep talking to us and to keep being open to us. But when we don't express compassion to this person, maybe someone has a problem and then they are expressing their problem to us, and the way that we are talking to them, it's just like we don't really care about what they are telling us. We don't really care about their problem. Then this is going to make us to have a communication breakdown. So how can we now practice nonviolent communication in our daily lives? The first thing to do, if we want to practice nonviolent communication in our daily life, is to adhere to the 5 pillars of Gandhian nonviolence. That is the first thing that we have to do if we want to really be good practitioners of nonviolent communication. We need to make sure that we show respect to other people when talking to them. We need to show that we understand other people's points of views when talking to them. We need to accept other people's views when talking to them. We need to appreciate other people's views, and we need to express compassion to them. The second thing, we need to manage our negative and disruptive emotions. So when we are talking to someone and there is this disruptive emotion of like anger that comes to us, we need to know how to manage it if we want to be good practitioners of nonviolent communication. The next thing is to make sure that we manage our anger properly when talking to other people. And how do we manage our anger? We can manage our anger by having a daily anger journal, whereby we'll be taking notes and noting down by first of all asking ourselves questions like, why did I get angry? When did I get angry? Why did I get angry? Where did I get angry? What or who made me angry? So when we write all of these points down in our daily journal, so we will be revisiting our journal and reading these points and understanding ourselves properly. When you understand when, where, what, why makes you angry, then whenever you are communicating with someone And one of these points come into play, you will know how to manage that anger. You will know how to manage that situation. The next thing is to know how to resolve conflicts. We need to have skills in conflict resolution, how to peacefully resolve our conflicts with other people. We need to understand that we don't have to use violence if we want to resolve conflicts. We need to use some procedures like conflict mediation when we want to resolve conflicts peacefully. And when we have these skills, they will help us to be good practitioners of nonviolent communication in our daily lives. The next thing, we have to know how to overcome our stress. We sometimes get too much stressed. So how do you overcome your stress when you are stressed? When you understand how to manage your stress, how to overcome it, then you will know how to practice nonviolent communication. Because you can't practice nonviolent communication when you are full of stress. You will not know how to control your communication. So you will be speaking things without even meeting yourself in your mind, without even looking, without even introspecting if what I'm going to say is going to hurt another person's feelings or not. The next thing, we have to make sure we understand the importance of engaging in the dialogues and the significance of nonviolent communication. We need to know how to have dialogues with other people. When we find ourselves in a hard situation, we need to make sure that we think about dialogue instead of using violence, instead of insulting other people, instead of being full of stereotypes about other people. We need to make sure that we engage in the dialogues. We need to talk to the other person if we really need to understand the other person. The next thing, we really need to understand the role of nonviolent communication and the team building. When we are using nonviolent communication, it helps us to lead our teams properly. It helps us to engage with the people that we are leading in our team. But when we don't practice nonviolent communication, let's say, for example, you are leading a team, you are leading a group of people, but your communication is always violent. So, how do you think that you are going to lead this team that you are leading? How are these people going to keep following you when every time you are talking to them, when wherever you are with them, your communication is always violent? So this will make the team not to progress. This will make the team not to be stronger. But when we are moving using nonviolent communication in our team, then our team is going to be stronger. Because the way we'll be communicating with others, with other members of the team, it will make everyone to feel appreciated. It will make everyone to feel at ease, to feel okay being part of the team. But you, as a leader, you are in a team and you are not using proper communication, you are using a violent communication, then this will make the team not to stand stronger. That's when you find sometimes people having a team which is having other smaller teams in a team. So your communication can make the members of the team either to not follow your instructions, or either to despise you as a leader. And when the members of your team are not following your instructions because of the way that you communicate with them, then this is going to make the team to fall apart. So that is why nonviolent communication is very important in building our teams. You as a leader, you need to know how to manage your team being nonviolent. You need to even make sure that other members of your team are not violent in the way that they communicate with other members. This is the only way that we as a team can stand stronger and make sure that we reach our goals which we had set for our team. Apart from that, we can't really reach our goals, we can't really understand one another, and this is going to make our team to fall apart. So thank you so much. Now it's time for Q&A for some questions because we are running out of time. So you are please welcome for any kind of questions so that we can see how to discuss about the presentation and any other question that you'll be having about the role of nonviolent communication in peaceful coexistence. So when we practice nonviolent communication, it's going to help us to live peacefully with others in the community, because nonviolent communication is used at different levels, at all levels of life. Nonviolent communication can be used at the family level, it can be used at the professional level, it can be used anywhere where we are and anytime when we are communicating with other people. So you are welcome for questions. Thank you so much. That was all that I had to present to you today on the role of nonviolent communication in peaceful coexistence. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone for your comments. Thank you so much for feedbacks. It's really so amazing and so nice to see everyone here for this session.